That said, Zaino has undertaken a pledge to refrain from bringing any issue related to the Hudson Institute before the Bureau of European and Eurasian Affairs at the State Department or before the Embassy of the United States in Baku if I am confirmed. And I, of course, would maintain the highest ethical standards, as I have throughout my career, and would not take up any issue related to the Hudson Institute without proper authorization, of course, if there was some reason for doing that, but I would have to be authorized from Washington. Finally, I'd like to discuss a bit about, or respond to some of the allegations about our wedding. We had a wonderful wedding in August of 2007 in Istanbul, to which we invited a broad cross-section of all the people that we've known through the course of our work over the last decade that we've known each other. For me, this included government officials, diplomats, civil society leaders, opposition leaders, religious leaders, including His All Holiness, the Ecumenical Patriarch of Istanbul, including the Armenian Patriarch, Mesrab, now deceased, including other religious leaders from, yes, Azerbaijan, but from Armenia, from Turkey, from Greece, from the Republic of Cyprus, and from other countries I've worked on throughout my career. We were very happy that many people did choose to attend, and in fact, it turned out many people from Azerbaijan attended the wedding. That was their choice, but we invited a very broad cross-section of people to that wedding. There are allegations that one particular minister, the government of Azerbaijan, former minister Haydar Babayev, perhaps financed part of our wedding. I can tell you that is absolutely untrue. There was no outside financing whatsoever of our wedding. We financed that wedding entirely through our family.
On June 18th, a violent clash took place near Nagorno-Karabakh, which left 4 Armenian troops and 1 Azerbaijani soldier dead. According to the Associated Press, Secretary Clinton implicitly rebuked the government of Azerbaijan for this outbreak of violence during a press conference in Armenia earlier this month. Can you speak to what happened on that night of June 18th? Why hasn't the U.S. government been more forceful in its condemnation of Azerbaijan? And is the government of Azerbaijan actively trying to escalate the conflict with Armenia?
Thank you, Madam Senator. What transpired that day remains not entirely clear to us, but we do know that there were several people that were killed. There was an Azerbaijani movement across the line of contact. Armenia responded, resulted in deaths, which, yes, Secretary Clinton did condemn. And also, the way we condemned that action was through the OSCE Minsk Group co-chair, the U.S. co-chair, and his Russian and French counterparts, that's Ambassador Bradke and his counterparts, through an explicit statement, again, that condemned the use of force and called on the parties to reinvigorate the Minsk Group process to negotiate a peaceful settlement. And as I said in my opening statement, there is no military solution to the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh. The only way forward, the only way to end an endless cycle of violence and recrimination is through a peace settlement.
I agree with you, but that's why I was looking for a more forceful answer in terms of the condemnation of Azerbaijan. And I would like to re-ask this question. In your opinion, is the government of Azerbaijan actively trying to escalate the conflict with Armenia?
During my experience as the U.S. co-chair, we often saw similar cases and forcefully did condemn, both in public and in private, with the leadership of Azerbaijan, and made the point with Armenia as well, the need to remain restrained. The administration believes that the government of Azerbaijan is committed to the Minsk Group process, which is to create this peaceful settlement. If I'm confirmed, what I would do would be to continue to reiterate to President Aliyev and his team, again, there is no military solution, and urge him to remain committed to the Minsk Group process.
I didn't exactly get an answer, but let me go on. As you know, Congress has enacted legislation known as Section 907, prohibiting U.S. assistance to Azerbaijan until it meets a number of conditions, including taking demonstrable steps to cease, quote, offensive uses of force against Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh. Do you concur that the tragic events of June 18th are a justification for keeping the 907 law on the books?
Madam Senator, the question of whether 907 remains on the books is clearly a determination to be made by the United States Congress. What I can say is if I am confirmed, I would continue to do what I've always done while I had policy responsibility for that part of the world, which is scrupulously to ensure implementation of all U.S. assistance programs in accordance with Section 907.
Well, I asked you your opinion of whether you felt we should keep the 907 law in the books, and you said it's up to us. So you're kicking it back to me and to us. Now, the sanctions called for under Section 907 have been waived by the executive branch for the last several years. Do you support continuing these waivers?
Well, those waivers are a decision taken by the President, and the last one was signed by Deputy Secretary Steinberg. Those waivers have allowed us to provide important assistance that actually is in the national security interest of the United States by virtue of helping us work together with Azerbaijan to fight terror and proliferation of weapons of mass destruction through crucial programs like the Nunn-Lugar program. So those programs are in our national interest. And therefore, if confirmed, I would do everything possible to strengthen those programs.
So again, you don't have an opinion, but you are leaving it up to the executive branch and to Congress. As you know, the U.S. Congress has consistently appropriated assistance for Nagorno-Karabakh. In 2008 and again in 2009, Congress appropriated $8 million. But according to the Congressional Research Service, only about $2 million was spent in Nagorno-Karabakh each year. Do you think that's accurate, and why wasn't the full amount spent?
Based on my knowledge of our assistance programs, I believe it is accurate that around $2 million of the $8 million appropriated was spent. Our people who handle our assistance programs, and by the way, they exist through a law, the Freedom Support Act. I mean, their coordinating role at the State Department. They ensure me that they are and we are implementing that assistance in as efficient a way as possible to address the key humanitarian needs in Nagorno-Karabakh, which are shelter, schools, school rehabilitation, demining, as well as water programs. And I'd just like to add that I have worked to respond to the humanitarian needs as expressed by the people of Nagorno-Karabakh during my visits there as the Minsk Group co-chair to make sure we are being as efficient as possible in spending those dollars. In this case, it's for a potable drinking water project in Stepanakert and working directly with the officials there. Before
your nomination moves forward, will you provide a detailed accounting on the disbursement of all U.S. assistance to Nagorno-Karabakh?
Would I? Absolutely.
Okay. And my last question, which I'm sure you're happy about. In December '05, during your tenure as Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs, an ancient Armenian cemetery in Julfa, Azerbaijan, was callously destroyed. There's video footage of burial monument stones being smashed and dumped into the river. The European Parliament subsequently passed a resolution which cited the Azerbaijani government's refusal to provide answers about the event, and the European Parliament condemned the destruction of the cemetery. What specific actions did you take to condemn this hateful act, and how quickly did you speak out publicly? And I have just two other questions related to that. If confirmed, will you visit the cemetery? What specifically will you do to protect other historic Armenian sites in Azerbaijan?
Yeah, that incident was horrendous. And when the initial reports came in, we had reports, we had that video. My response was immediately, the day I received the report, to call the foreign minister of Azerbaijan. And to call? The foreign minister of Azerbaijan from Washington. And say, we've seen this information, we expect an investigation, and if this happened, you know we condemn it. The U.S. government at other levels, including through our embassy, condemned this action as more information came in. And as it became clearer that this indeed is what happened, I did on the record publicly at a press conference in Yerevan condemn the destruction of these hachkars, these stones, burial stones, in Nakhchivan, at Julfa. In my statement, by the way, I said that I have just come from Baku, where I did raise this issue at the highest level in Baku, and made clear that the U.S. government condemns such action. I would look forward to, if confirmed, to traveling to this exclave of Nakhchivan, visiting the site, and remain vigilant about protecting such cultural and religious patrimony or elements of culture of Armenia. By the way, in addition to Azerbaijan, I've been very active in doing the same in Georgia, where I've worked with the president of Georgia, the mayor of Tbilisi, on issues of restitution of Armenian church properties in Tbilisi.